Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Bigadoo, also known as the Hood Sommelier. Welcome to The Truth is Bearer Proof, the podcast where we bring brands, we talk about things happening in the industry, and a new perspective on how you should look at your whiskey. My ultimate goal in my shows is always to know a little more than what the average person needs to know about the brand. How can you support the brand? The stories behind the brand. So it's a good conversation, a nice conversation that we can all have. And hopefully, we learn a little bit more about the brand that we're supporting. And maybe if you've never or ever had the opportunity to deal with the brand we're talking about, then this is your chance to know more about it. The brand we're going to bring on today is uh, is very peculiar in a lot of ways. Again, remember if you're here, make sure you say hello, say hi, share this with a friend, share this with your coworkers, your whiskey lovers, and if you have any questions for the brands, we'll be sure to answer them. But who are we talking about today? Two Stacks. Two Stack whiskey probably is the most ridiculous whiskey idea I've seen on the market. I was probably the biggest critics of them 4 years ago. I remember I walked into a store and I saw whiskey in a can. I say, who in Jesus' name thought about this? What is this? What's this craziness? And obviously as a whiskey lover, I had to go and look for them and see what they're about and what is it that they got going on. And guess what? Crazy enough, there's just a bunch of regular dudes that just love whiskey and are trying to bring Irish whiskey name to the front of the conversation. uh, you know me. I love Ireland. I feel like they're my people. I love Irish whiskey. Every March, if you're on my channel, you know I do my 30 days of Irish whiskey, trying to highlight heritage whiskey and whatnot. So I call in the big boss himself, Shane. Shane is one of the founders of the brand. But instead of me telling you all about Shane, I will let Shane himself introduce introduce himself to y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Shane to the show. What's up, Shane?
Hey man, number one, I did not know you were such a critic.
You know,
So
I have to keep a few things to myself, to bring it on the show.
yeah, I love the honesty and yeah, as you said, two stacks, absolute love and passion, heart and soul for Irish whiskey. Drama in the can is just part of our story. For us, everything in the can is also in beautiful bottles. But it was a beautiful way to get liquid on lips to show the world that Irish whiskey, yes, we embrace triple distilled whiskey, but there is so many more layers. And there's such a history and cultural aspect to the revival and almost the renaissance of Irish whiskey happening at the moment. So for us, I feel we're a big part of that chapter. And, for some people that also maybe aren't aware, some of the co-founders of Two Stacks also co-founded Cologne Distillery, which won the world's best craft distillery at the World Whiskey Awards this year. So as much as we love to bond and blend and work with all the distilleries in the island, we've also built a distillery, and very much been a part of the whole new chapter, you might say. But when you look at bonding, I don't know. Actually, that's a good question for you, Jack. How would you personify bonding? Because bottle and bond is
This is a
almost
good
a technical file in the United States, where in Ireland it is actually ingrained in the history of whiskey. So, yeah, I'd be curious on
uh,
how
so
you
so
envision that terminology.
the bonders in general whiskey, beside Irish whiskey, are what they call independent bottlers, right? They're all independent bottlers. Then only in Irish whiskey term you hear bonders, right? Based on Irish history, you hear it. But before we jump into the viv of it, who is Shane? How did Shane get into whiskey and become the founder of the whiskey in a can? Tell a little bit the people who is Shane. And
Uh,
what's Shane even last name?
Uh, Very true. Very good question. Sometimes, it's easy to jump off on a tangent with the love of whiskey and Ishkabaha and the passion. Shane McCarthy is my name, co-founder of Two Stacks. And similar to yourself, Jack, actually, I have a background in finance and economics, which you could also ingrain in philosophy. And it all intertwines with culture, I believe. And so about 10 years ago, when I was in my mid 20s, I wanted to build something at home where I'm based in Northern Ireland, grew up in the beautiful Mourne Mountains. Wanted to build something that was true to who I am and wanted to show the world that Irish culture and community is much more than two or three brands that the world may know it. Traveled the world, lived in many cities, lived in, from Dublin to London to Auckland to Sydney to New York. And was very privileged at a very young age to almost become awakened to non-materialistic pursuit, I would say, of lifestyle. So I put all of my heart and soul into building a very simple phrase, and it was a true taste of Ireland worldwide. So my whole vision was to build something that would show the world more layers of the culture of Ireland, the true identity of Ireland. And if you go deep into it, there's a lot of centuries of oppression to colonialism and the true identity of the people of the island. So when you look at Irish history, even this year we celebrate 7 centuries of the Red Book of Ossory, where distillation was first mentioned, probably a century before Scotch. And you look at the monasteries and the monks that actually created this aquavitae and created this liquid that we all know and love today. So sometimes in the modernization of the world, you might say that the narrative is owned by those that control it. So with Two Stacks, that journey really was 10 years ago, where we worked with all the breweries, cideries, distilleries. There was only about four, maybe even two independent distilleries. We very, very passionate about working with independent family businesses. So we really got on the craft beer movement, and we consolidated some of these most brilliant brands out of Ireland. Fast forward 3, 4, 5 years, Brendan, who I've been friends with since I've been 10 years of age. Probably the face of Cologne, you might say, the mad scientist that, just lives up the road from where I'm sitting at the minute in Cologne Distillery. And he wanted to, he's a chartered architect, but again, that overlaps with, yeah, Cologne, exactly. And, Brendan followed a bit of our journey, but perhaps, give him a bit of ignitement to be like, I want to show the world what's been lost in the culture of Irish whiskey. And I'm not sure if you're too familiar with Cologne, and I don't want to get lost in the storyline here, but we co-founded and hand built this beautiful upcycled farmhouse, and give us, an even more in-depth look at how hard it is to operate and build a distillery, but at the same time, growing all of these brands and working with brands and being asked by global customers, can you do this for me? But also on the other side, brands going, oh, well, I don't want to do that with my brand. So there was a ceiling and there was an ask. And then there was a white space of, you know what, there is a big blank canvas here for indie bottling and for bonders. There was a handful on the island, maybe 2, 3, like JJ Corey, WD O'Connell, maybe come out around the same time. But for us, it was an opportunity to actually grow this new chapter. And sometimes I look at the Scotch industry because they're a little bit of a crystal ball, and even for me, what somewhat inspired this story, but also the inspiration, is you look at the category of Japanese whiskey, which never existed in the 700-year history that we had. But how did they get to own their own chapter and their own storytelling? And for me, what they'd done so well was branding and storytelling and perfection and quality. So, when we scoured the world and we learned, from working with all these brands, it's not about bringing sand to the beach, and it's so freaking hard to innovate in a product that is such a length of time. It's like trying to reinvent the wheel almost. It's like, how do you innovate in this space? And so Two Stacks is really, the name itself is derived in minimalism, but it's actually also derived in paying homage to Old and Dock Distillery, which is one of the biggest distilleries here in the island. It had the two biggest chimney stacks, and seafarers used to use the chimney stacks and the Northern Star to navigate their way into the island. So when you look at it, the two chimney stacks, the Northern Star, so that's the steadfastness for us. But also it's about us writing our own chapter. Science, technology has come a long way in the century since Irish whiskey was created. And there's so many great brands that are maybe retelling lost brands. But for us, it's like, tell our story, because we are part of the new generation of Ireland. Um, so, going full circle and maybe how people came across the brand with Dram in a Can, Dram in a Can is all about liquid on lips as a new brand. But when we dove really deep into it, you realize that Ireland also invented the miniature bottle. So baby powers. For me, it's actually a beautiful kudos that we were able to evolve that storyline, that the almost disruption of miniature bottles has now happened with whiskey in a can. And we knew we might have got people saying like, "Oh, but the 99% of people have embraced it."
So the one thing that it comes literally to mind is when I visited Ireland, you go to Dublin and you have people like Teeling saying we want to retell the story of Dublin and how it used to be just booming time. There is a lot of people, obviously, uh, O'Connell, Tad Daddy. He's one of the first bonders I met in real life. Obviously, JJ Corey that you mentioned. It seemed like this new generation do not want Irish heritage to disappear, right? You guys want to make sure that not only that heritage, which is, the most oldest story told of Uskaba, whiskey is now at a certain point just lost its life and need to be revived back. And you guys are doing it. But I feel like it brought more distilleries and bonders together as a family because all of you guys kind of know each other. There's more bonders than distillery anymore because it's almost like people don't want to reinvent distillery. Distilling is not the objective now. It's about good whiskey, good quality whiskey, and blending it to actually show the world, not even just Europe or America, the world, that Irish whiskey is the longest spirit there and is here to stay. And this new generation is bringing it life. And I love it. And I love it. I
And
really
that's it, Jackie. Like, we always had the mantra of, good distillate in, good distillate out when we're maturing whiskey, but also, you know, let the quality lead the way, and anything that we bring to the fray, um, we would not put to market unless we enjoyed. Is it a whiskey you'd sit down with your good buddy and share a glass with? Simple as
So,
that.
so you decide to get into it. You're now a bonder. You register. You obviously you love history. Clearly, you love history because a lot of things in the bottle. I had no idea what the two stack means. So now it's perfect. I understand what that means. But let's talk about this. For me, the most innovative, but just ridiculous, out of left idea, almost as if it was on a drunken night that this was decided. You go, you know what? We want whiskey in a can. We're gonna do our whiskey in a can. Now, before you answer that, I want to ask: was that the primary idea? More people need to try our whiskey or our blend. So, like I say, I always advise my viewer, try it before you buy it, right? Don't
Right,
spend too much. Try it before you buy it. Was it the idea behind it? because you're like, we all broke doing this business. I'm sure I can afford a bottle, but I can afford a can. Or did you just get really drunk and you're like, what will work for a whiskey? Put it in the can. So I want to learn, what is this ridiculous idea that came about putting, because when I saw it, I said, these people are crazy. They're out of their mind. Who, who, who puts whiskey in a can? Which is
Yeah,
this ludicrous idea. So
I
tell
love
me.
it. Yeah. I don't think it was particularly. I wish it was over a very drunken night, but I'm sure we discussed it many times. Um, I I think step number one was we actually set out to be a bit of a myth buster. When we put the green can that you may see and know of, it was actually a 5-part blend with 4 different distillates. And it won a World Whiskey Award for Ireland's best blend. And we said, how do we show the world that Irish whiskey is not just triple distilled? And it comes down to 2 words, I would say. The other founders may have a different story, but to me, price psychology. You just nailed it on the head there. Not everyone wants to pay $30, $40 for a brand they don't know, but they will not think twice about throwing $5 at a can. So we looked deep into the miniature history, and in Europe, would you believe that the lowest I suppose if you look at everything in concept, it's all weights and measures. And when you go deep into it, you realize that even the house you live in, the doors, the measurements, everything is constructed in policy. And in Europe, it's 150 mil is actually the lowest measurement you're allowed of beverage. So we said, well, frick that. We're going to rip the papers up and we're going to try and find a smaller vessel that is closer to the miniature bottle. So we went scouring the world and we found 100 ml can. This predates the RTD trend, by the way. I know
Correct,
people get
correct.
mixed up
Yeah,
sometimes, but
yeah, you guys
we
came
were
before
pre.
RTD. Yeah, you
We
guys
were
came
pre
before.
RTD.
Yeah,
So, sometimes people go, oh, and they go, oh shit, that's straight whiskey. And it's like, yeah, but guess what? It's good whiskey.
that's also what happened to me, because the first time I saw this, I didn't read it. I really didn't. I was like, it's sure an RTD, because that was the time where RTDs were very popular. They're just coming up, right? A lot of small brand were doing it. And I'm like, ugh, another RTD. I did not know it's whiskey because I just saw it in the corner. And I'm like, who? Oh, somebody's selling me, excuse my French, shit again. I don't even want to look at it till
Yeah.
someone told me, no, that's whiskey. And I'm like, no, that cannot be whiskey. And it is whiskey. It is
Here we
whiskey.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for us, you could have so easily got this wrong. You could have done bad branding, bad whiskey, and people, but be straight up, we've sold millions of these over the last few years, and there's no way as a new brand we would have sold millions of bottles of whiskey. So sometimes you get a couple of naysayers, but for me, it's like if you don't like the can, buy the bottle. The bottle
Yeah.
is this beautiful 100% recycled glass, natural cork. We put so much time and effort into everything that we do. We're all about quality, but also accessibility. It's like anything. It's like community. You want people to drink the whiskey. You don't want them to collect it. Well, I certainly don't, but we do have some bottles that people sometimes maybe want to collect. But if they do, that's fine. And to the extent that a lot of our single casts now, we are doing only like 150 bottles and we're doing like 500 cans. And guess what sells out first? The cans, because it's price psychology. People go, I
Everybody,
just want to
everybody
drink.
want to try it. Everybody want to try it.
Right. And there's so much choice out there. So, the dram in a can, and coming back to even, we invented the can and then we coined the term. And if you look at dram, it's probably more known in the Scotch terminology.
Right.
They say it means we and whatnot, but dram, it's global, it's universal. It actually is a measurement in its origination. It's just a unit measurement. But you look at the terminology of we, even where I'm from in Northern Ireland, we use it a lot, we this and we that. So dram in a can was this perfect.
A wee dream.
Yeah, it was a perfect way of going, a wee nip of whiskey, a wee nip of beautiful whiskey.
So you come up with the design. So We have obviously the green one is what I've featured in my 30 days of Irish on my channel. If you're on YouTube, you can find it. Two stack. I featured the green one on my 30 days Irish whiskey. The latest one that we have now is the I would say the Bordeaux color one
Yeah,
on
Maroon Bordeaux. Yes.
right? It's the Bordeaux color that we have here. So tell us about, you put this on the market. What did you start with? What came, right? So what did you which expression did you started? And also, what was the mindset when you started? Are you getting whiskey from everyone, getting whiskey you can get, or what was available? Because we know sometime the budget determine what you could get,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And age of the whiskey type of, because the craziest thing is you guys blend some crazy stuff
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
from grain whiskey to pot still whiskey to aging certain thing, not aging certain. There is a lot of mad scientist thing happening at Two Stacks. So
Right.
tell me about the expression, because I believe the black can was the first one I saw on the market. um I don't have a photo of all four expressions, so if you can show the one you have of all four expression, so
Yeah.
I will make you bigger so people can see you. So these are the four expression right now on the market. So if you ever want to try, I don't know if is this sampler available in the US?
It's coming. It's that one was just finished towards the end of last year, so it's called the Discovery Pack.
Perfect.
And yeah, and what it is it really breaks down the four pillars of whiskey: single pot still, single grain, single malt, and blend.
Right.
That little pack brings you on a journey of the different pillars at a very accessible price point. $20.
And you cannot beat that. You cannot beat $20 to discover a whiskey. I think every consumer almost wish every brand did this. So you guys are the, like we say in French, the avant-garde.
Yeah,
You're bringing this idea up, and you are doing it very well to actually have a discovery. If you can show it one more time to
yeah, yeah.
show people this discovery thing, where you can try every single two stacks. So look for it on the market. um Before even we get further into it, I want to remind everybody, if you're on social media, make sure you check out Two Stack. They're on Instagram. It's Two Stack Irish, Two Stack Whiskey. And if you're want to check out the website is twostackwhiskey.com. Make sure you check them out, so at least you keep abreast of all the things that are happening, so that will let you know at least what's coming, because that four pack, I'm definitely be the first one to check it out, because
Yeah.
it helps you discover the brand as a whole. Now let's start with the expression. Right now I have two of them on the market. The your first cut expression is what I have, and I also have the double barrel expression.
Yeah, yeah.
But before we get into those, there was previous expression before that came on the market. So kind of run us through these expression that you put on the market and how did they come about.
Yeah, so the OG really is the signature blend, which I spoke about there, and that was the 5 part blend, and it was just really to show the world that Irish whiskey has so many more layers. So everything, as you said earlier, if you ever pick up a bottle of Two Stacks, it'll tell you exactly where the distillate comes from, what distillery it comes from, where it was bottled, and it will tell you, the breakdown of the blend, the casks that were used. So one of our three pillars is transparency. A big thing about what we do is always transparency, creativity, and innovation. And so the signature blend, the other bottle you showed, tells you about the 5 part blend. It's, to me, it is a 5 4 3 2 1. It's a 5 part blend. It's got four different distillates. Again, it's got single grain, single
Mhm.
malt double distilled, single malt triple distilled, and single pot still. It's aged in three different barrels. It's got two incredible vessels, both bottle and can, and one incredible taste. So for me, that's the OG. That is what we spent time, passion, and energy most to bring to market. And then we've just evolved out of that. So the single grain is a way of showing the world that here, this is, I'd love to hear your take on this, because to me, this is premium bourbon. You know, what is bourbon? Maize, corn, right here.
Mhm.
Mixed mash bill, 94%, 6% malted barley. You know, aged. Yes, we age it in bourbon and sherry, but I think there's so many similarities between this distillate and, you know, the world has maybe been a flush with cheap grain, if
Mhm.
that's, and maybe inferior grain through fast pot still distillation, almost like vodka aged in barrels sometimes, which has maybe diminished people trying this category. So our intention was to show people that single grain is bloody incredible whiskey. And this single grain actually won best single grain Irish whiskey at the World Whiskey Awards this year. So for us, it was a nice way to say, let's take a retake here and give it a go. And for me, it's just such an approachable whiskey. It's got beautiful floral elegancy, pears, almonds, fruity esters, and you don't get that from a lot of single grains. So that's, you know, we don't just put something in the market for the sake of putting it there.
You know what, Shane? I will be the judge of that because now you're in
It's,
my house. You're in my house. So if we have to start discovering the these whiskeys right now, where will I start? If I was a newbie coming into the
well,
whiskey,
what I would say
where
is
will
I would say buy one can of each, $10.
I?
What's
Okay.
$10? Buy the single grain, buy the signature blend, and decide which one's your
So
favorite.
but where will we start? Now I have those two. Which one do I start with?
This one.
All right. All right. And you guys get to witness me actually having it out of a can.
Yeah,
This this is incredible. You know, I also told someone it's probably the best thing to take amongst friends because you can take a can to a friend and you guys can split it. It's like the perfect split and pour to carry around. And guess what? You can make it through the TSA. It's 100 milliliter, so you can make it exactly through the TSA. And I'm like,
absolutely.
I never thought about that. He can make it through airport security because it's a hundred
If
mil.
you're nervous about the flight and you need a little nip, go for
There
it.
we go. There we go. So this is your single grain double barrel.
Mhm.
So for those who don't know, explain to them that let's say the regular guy, just say, hey, I don't know what single grain Irish whiskey mean. What does that mean?
Yeah, and you know, you can go deep in terminology and what it is, but let's think of it about someone that eats porridge in the morning, right? You have your cereals, you have your oats, you have your grains. So how whiskey is fundamentally made is out of cereals, and this is a corn slash maize, and that is single grain. Single, by the way, for people that are not aware, it means that the whiskey is made at one production plant. It's made at
Correct.
one location. That's
Correct.
it. That's all single made, like single origin coffee and single grain. It's made at the same distillery. Grain whiskey needs to be made out of column stills. And again, not to overcomplicate it, column stills is basically plate distillation. It's is perhaps a faster way of distilling versus copper pot stills, but single grain has to be made in column distillation. And even look at the color in that when you're showing it to the,
Oh
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
this is ex bourbon, and just so you're aware, it's not vatted, it's finished. So it's, and we're very much non-age statement, but this is over 6 years of age.
So this is but I want to understand because is 150% of this had been aged in an ex-bourbon cask and 50% of it has been aged in a sherry cask, right? Sherry
Right.
butts, right?
Right. Yeah.
So did you blend them together to see that 50-50 works or how did it come about?
So it was blended together, but then it was also finished. There was a, and it was finished in sherry casks to marry them. So
Okay.
you're
Okay.
going to get a beautiful, sweet Ford single grain here. To me, honestly, I would put this against a lot of single grains and be like, tell me this isn't good.
This is 43% ABV, which is 86 proof. It
86.
is very, very sweet on just pouring it. You get that a bouquet of rose water, of just it remind me of honey, fresh harvest honey,
Fresh
sweetness that
harvest. Yeah.
you smell.
Yeah.
And obviously you get a little bit of those apple, like if you cut fresh
Apple,
apples.
pearl,
um
lots of
so
pearl.
it is very crisp and fresh on the nose right away. It's like walking into a fruit salad immediately,
I've
right?
heard that a few times. Yeah, yeah. And
So
for me, Jack, it's like how can you go wrong with this at $30? To me, it comes the whole way from Ireland. That's in Ireland that's like a €25, £20 bottle of whiskey. That
and that's like a magic number for people. Everybody want to spend under $30 to get themselves some good whiskey, and under $30.
yeah,
Well, let's give it a taste. There is a nice oiliness to this. It does not fall on a glass like it was 43% ABV. It's quite oily. As there's a viscosity that you can see on the glass right away as you
and
actually
you don't usually get that with single grain.
correct. That's what I'm saying. There's something odd about this. That viscosity. If you get closer, you can see on my it just nice viscosity. You
Yeah,
know what? Slancha.
don't you? Mm.
Mm, I see why you married it.
Yeah, yeah,
It rounded the spirit out. Honey, apples, some pear, a little bit of cherry. That those cherry butt tannins are right in the mid palate here.
yeah, right.
Finish settling a little bit, just a little bit of prunes on the finish. The finish is have just that nice light ginger prune and a little hug going down. There's 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 nothing to go to church about, but everything to talk about. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
If I spend 29.99 on this bottle on a hot summer day and I'm sitting outside, even get this will pair nicely with a cigar
oh,
because it's refreshing, it is crisp. So a cigar definitely will marry well with this. It's and that I can tell you don't have to tell me, being someone that been in the industry, you guys are using high quality sherry butts.
sure.
That
Yeah,
quality of the sherry, because I said good sherry should give
yeah.
you a little bit of that funk, almost like you walking into an old library, grandpa's old chair,
Little
leather
bit of dankness, and yeah, it's funny. You're not the first one to say that. Um, and that's all about first fill. We tend to only use first fill, uh, maximum second fill, but first fill bourbon, first fill sherry.
I'm telling you now, I'm loving that funkiness, that those red fruit note that are coming up from that sherry, but it's not overwhelming. I feel like some people use sherry sometimes to cover their mistakes, and and if you've been in the industry long enough, you will know when someone
You
have
will
used
know when, and we have the mantra of
correct.
bad distillate in, bad distillate out. Sherry should only be around, and you think of the time and effort that goes into making the distillate. There was a mantra and a narrative for a long time that casks make 67% of the flavor. To me, that is an absolute fib. The distillate is 100% what makes the whiskey. You need good distillate to make good
Absolutely.
whiskey.
It grows on you, it evolves. More of those red fruit notes comes with that.
Yeah, the apple, the red apple,
Yeah, the more you have in it, that sherry cask slowly bring those, and a little bit of that dryness from that sherry is coming through, which shows the quality of the cask. But the nose of this whiskey want to make me try. the white dog, like we call it, the original spirit,
The
because
new make, the white
the
dog.
new make, right? The new make, because it shows
That's
the
that's
quality
what
of
I love
the
trying all
product.
the time. I don't I don't touch the cask without getting into the white dog and really understanding the DNA of the distillery, and that's where the true flavor. It's like cooking. It's the flavors in the oils of the whiskey.
Correct. So tell me, how do you? I know you're partner with you know, a distillery that you guys work out of, but are you, as a bonder, are you getting spirits from other distilleries around Ireland?
Yeah, so I think
How
we
do you
have
source
now
it? How do you source it?
we have about 17 different distilleries under our roof, and I think we're probably writing the blueprint a little bit for the new chapter of bonding. There are others doing similar, but we also go a chapter further, Jack, where we actually, and people aren't aware about the layers of this story. And as you said at the start, I hope it maybe you're so busy working business as usual, it's hard to kind of pause and tell people exactly what you're doing. But quietly 3, 4, 5 years ago, we actually have been taking over distilleries, and we have been reviving old heritage peated pot still mash bills from the 1800s. And we have been buying all the distillate and putting it into our casks and bringing it.
Really?
Yeah, that's a big part of Two Stack story. And
Uh,
there's
is there two stack peated then?
Oh, for sure. There's a lot. There's a great series called Pillars of Creation. And Pillars of Creation, for me, I love physics, astronomy, and you look at the Webb telescope, and it's all about looking beyond and further. And Pillars of Creation actually takes independent distilleries' DNAs. So we've done two chapters to date. We've done 2024 and 2025, and we have worked very closely with 3 to 4 new distilleries. Some people might coin you as the Compass Box or the Gordon MacPhail of Ireland, but we're writing our own chapter because we take the different regions and we put these DNAs together and we marry them and come up with these beautiful blends. And that is really what excites me the most as a bonder. And because, yes, we have these really accessible whiskies, but we're creating these profiles that have never existed in Irish whiskey, or have maybe not existed for a long time. And people that follow it on the social media will see behind the scenes day in, day out, like this is what we do and this is what we're about, because it's not about bringing ice to the Eskimos or sand to the beach. It's actually about going, how do we bring this further? How do we really show not just Irish whiskey, but the world what whiskey can be? And I think that's what we've done really well.
I feel like that part of your story is not told, right? It's like I'm enthralled by just hearing that. Like I want to travel down and come see what you guys are doing, because if the walls of your lab can talk, there will
Oh,
be so much craziness happening, because Irish whiskey is, I feel like, it's becoming this one pence, you know, one pence size fit all, right? Everyone is doing the same thing. The top 10 brands are giving you Irish single malt or pot still. And then the bunders are coming in. Some bunders are really doing it right. Keelowen, I love what he does, the wild fermentation and whatnot. But those are the story I live for. Knowing that you're taking heritage, new mix, and reviving some of those and bringing into a new way, really truly reviving what Irish whiskey, the heritage of what whiskey is, uskaba is, and truly bringing it to the surface, should be told more by more people
yeah.
than just saying be known by just a can, right? Which is
Well,
cool to be
and,
known by a can.
and that's where I suppose that's, I wouldn't say the danger is, but yes, people go, oh, that's the guys that do this and this. But, when you spend 70, 80, 90 hours a week for the last 10 years doing so much work, you don't even think about what you're doing. You're just evolving and innovating and creating. The piece that I absolutely adore is the Pillars of Creation and the commission mash bill projects that are coming out at the end of the year. The world hasn't seen this yet. Like
So
we created,
you have to make sure I feature that.
yeah,
I am
it's pretty
sure.
mind blowing. And like, we work very closely with Finn and O'Connor from A Glass Apart, and the
Okay.
creator project, we actually hold his casket, our bond, and we
Oh,
actually funded the writing of the book, The Creator. So we do quietly get behind a lot of passionate projects, because for us it isn't about, all right, let's just put a whiskey to the market. It's like, what is the why? What is the
right.
purpose and what is the passion behind this? So definitely when we're taking over distilleries, we will look at the flora and fauna. We will look at the region. We will look at perhaps what was made there. There's a lot of heritage grains that have been lost over the centuries as well. So there's distilleries like Blackwater and other brands that are actually reviving old heritage grains and putting them into the pot still category, like mixed mash bill. And to me, that is rewriting history through beverage.
I just love it. I need to make two stacks my next stop when I'm in Ireland next.
Well, you're more than welcome. Make sure you email
Definitely,
because we will look
definitely
after you.
one of those that
We will spend a day drinking through the casks in the warehouse.
so the one that was what I featured this year on 30 Days of Irish Whiskey is your first cut. And the first cut is a crazy project because it'll involve five different blend of whiskey, which is ludicrous to hear because you're like five? How? So I want to hear more about the first cut. This one I have not seen yet, but tell me about the first cut. What is that about?
All right, so let's rewind. Let's even rewind Irish whiskey 4 years, right? And look at why people got into it, and then look at it now. So, do you think there was hundreds of people that really had a passion to show the world about Irish whiskey and build these new distilleries, or do you think it was vanity projects? Some perhaps, the writing will be on the wall, but when you look at it 4 years ago, the majority of what was coming to market were these blends. And what were they? They were 90-10, 80-20, 95-5. And it's like, and what? like, what? Do people realize what the world has at their doorstep in terms of flavor profile? So when we get into the lab, we worked so closely with a good friend and unfortunately a guy that's passed away called Brian Watts. Brian Watts, to this day, maybe his story isn't being told enough, but he was one of the most fundamental men in the reason where Irish whiskey is right now. Brian was brought over by John Teeling to forefront Great Northern Distillery. Unfortunately, passed away about 3 years ago, and Brian was a big part of us creating and writing and working closely with great blends out of Great Northern Distillery. So he gave us all these blends, and we said, "Oh, but we want more, and we want more." And he's like, "Well, what about this? What?" And then we brought it back to the start. Well, what are you trying to show? It's like you're trying to show the world that Irish whiskey has so many more layers than triple distilled and smooth. Not that we're not proud of it. It's great that that is a chapter of our category. But guess what? We have an absolute blossom of other flavor profiles to play around with. So, can we add double distilled malt? Can we add peated malt? Can we add single pot still, but still keep this balanced profile and rounded, but also accessible? Some people say, I don't like peat, I won't touch peat. So, if you look at the side of the signature blend, you'll notice that there's only 2% peat. It's like salt and pepper. It's like a seasoning on your whiskey. It's a lovely finishing profile. And for us, this complex blend is absolutely phenomenal. Then you look at the double distilled for the fruity esters and the single pot still for its spice and the triple distilled for the smoothness. And then you get the two iterations of single grain. You get the American oak, which gives that beautiful natural color, and then you get the bourbon. So you get 40%, 40, and you go, this is fucking complex. This is a really complex whiskey.
We're not even talking about the complexity here. I mean, guys, it took me myself, and I know whiskey, to sit down and really read when I was before I talked about it on camera. I'm like, this is 40% single grain, aged in American Virgin Oak, 40% aged a single grain aged in bourbon cask, 8% pot still aged in Oloroso butt, 10% double malt aged in bourbon cask, and 2% peat and malt aged in bourbon cask. Now, there has to be somewhere in your sleep you going through some crazy thing in your head to go, I wonder why. Because the nose of this whiskey, being as light as it looks, is probably one of the most complex whiskey. Because now I'm sitting here at 43% ABV. In my head, I'm like, what happened to this at 50% ABV? What happened to this at
Oh, that's
55%
a
ABV?
great question. That is such a good. Oh,
Why is this even at 43? Because the complexity of the nose of this whiskey, the like, if diversity was a whiskey, it'll be this, right? It looks like it's nothing, but yet it's composed of so many crazy things. The nose is confusing as hell because you don't know if it's sweet, if it's floral, if it's I don't know what it is. It all I can say is it is mesmerizing. And that's the word I used when I had this whiskey. It's just mesmerizing. So why 43% ABV?
and it's crazy. I don't, I don't know that question. It sounds like you were in the room when we came up with this because guess what? When we come up with this whiskey, Jack, we it was actually 64% in purity out of the blend cask, and it was 65.3. Would you believe, right? And we said we were tasting it, and we said to ourselves, "Holy moly! Like it would be sacrilegious not to show the world what this is like in its purest form." So when you look at the name, there's the first cut and the blender's cut. And you might not find the blender's cut because it's very hard to find. But the first cut means when we cut it.
I know someone. I know a guy. I know a guy. His name is Shane. I know a guy because I want to hear I want to taste the blend because the complexity of this whiskey makes me reminds me of why I got into whiskey. Because when I started in whiskey, I joined the Scotch and Malt Society, right? Because everything was straight from the barrel, everything was as it's supposed to come, and I would sit there. You'll never see me without a pipette. I will always add my own water. I
Yeah.
will always break down the whiskey to see what ABV works for me, get more flavors, get deeper. And when I tasted this whiskey, it felt like a final product, right?
Yeah.
But
And it's
now,
like heavier. And I
yeah,
completely hear you on that. Because if you look at two stacks as a whole, 80% of our releases are all cast strength. So the kind of more mass stuff we've had to cut to make it more commercially price sensitive. Blender's cut we brought to market, right? It's sold out in a day.
you will. There's no way it won't sell out in a day. There's no way. It'll be sacrilegious if somebody find the blender's cut and tells me I don't like it. You crazy?
It's
You
and like
crazy?
and here's the thing, and the reason I completely sing the same song as you in terms of why cut whiskey? Give the purity to the consumer, let them cut, and here's the thing, like this is what we played about where it's like, well, blender's cut might be 60, $70, but it's like, well, realistically, that's two bottles of whiskey when you water it down, if that's what you're
Right.
used to drinking.
Right.
But give them the purity of the cast. And here's the thing, like if you tasted them side by side, the blender's cut is muddy, it's peaty, it's got so many layers of complexity that you're describing, but dial that up 5 notches. And to me and all of the team, we're like, give that to the market, but give, unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but fortunately, the other side of it.
Right.
Because, what we also looked at when we looked at the miniature bottle, and you look at the history of everything and you go, well, why is whiskey 40%? We don't water down our wine to 20 or 10% or 5%, do we? We don't take what?
You know what? I'm gonna cut you off because I'm about to jump on this pedestal, and I'm gonna start preaching
Yeah,
because this wait for me to come to Ireland. We will sit down and
yeah.
drink and talk about this because I can talk about this all day on why whiskey are watered down sometime because that's not me at all. I understand for consumer sake it makes sense, But that's why there's water, right? There's water for whiskey to bring your whiskey down, but we are
Yeah.
not going to get on that pedestal today. We were not
Not today.
going to
And
get
you look at two stacks. I know we're discussing some of our core releases, but 80% is all cast
so,
strength.
so speaking of 80% being cast strength, Shane, I have a question from the American market, especially the professional American market. What did we do to you? What did the American market do to two stacks that all the good stuff that are castering only go to Canada, but nothing comes to us? I want to know. I really want to
I have
know.
a great story for you for that. And so our story in the United States is quite young. Ourselves and Cologne have just signed up with Foley Family Wine and Spirits. If anyone knows Foley Family Wine and Spirits, that brand, that culture, that people is phenomenal. The premium, brilliant people in what they've done in wine. They also bring in Loch Lomond Scotch, so that's their exclusive Scotch. Two
Correct.
Stacks Cologne is their exclusive Irish. We've only, hey, yeah, that's our buddies.
I support the family. Trust me.
Uh, so we were with High Road Spirits previously, and these guys are phenomenal. They were the guys that brought Kenobi Gin to the market, Chichibu, incredible Japanese whiskey.
Honestly, the high road spirits is we don't have a good relationship because I feel like they don't bring spirit like originally. What is it? Kiloan Brendan, right? Brendan is his name.
Yeah,
Like because I'm an insistent person, that's why I was because Brendan went with them first. And I told Brendan, I said, no one knows anything about your whiskey because he target retailers. He doesn't target the audience on the internet. And I personally reach out to Brendan. I say, I want to have you on when I interview Brendan. And I want to talk about your whiskey because there's a different audience than the guy that go on retail. They're the people right now we are on LinkedIn. So you have other professionals that want to hear about your whiskey. We are on Twitch, which is a bigger platform. We on Facebook and we on YouTube, right? So we even on TikTok. So for me, those audience necessarily are not always going to the grocery store. They're shopping online, right?
yeah,
So who is talking to that audience? And
yeah,
High Road Spirit, that's my beef with them. I'm like, you never, you almost, pigeonholed some of these men. So when you became Folly family, more of these things have been coming out. I've been seeing more on Facebook, more things. Obviously, that's why the whole family is with me, is because
yeah,
I
right.
always promote that.
And it's blossoming,
After you
and
put
this
that
is it, Jack. Like I feel very, I just feel very privileged to have such good partners. But the thing is, all right, hear me out here. If you and I were to trade whiskies, I would have everything in front of you, and I'd say this is pillars of creative. But these guys know how to do it correctly. They start with, and the exciting thing, and I think I can share it, but I'm not sure if you've seen the recent appointment of Andy Wesley, one of 16 masters of whiskey in the world. He is specifically looking after single casks of Cologne and two stacks in Loch Lomond for the United States. So he
Whoa.
was he was over 2 weeks ago, and he was hand picking the best of the best. So not only are you guys going to get what we're talking about, you're going to get an elevated, and it's going to be next level. So
You heard it here first. You heard it
yeah,
here
you
first.
actually did hear that
The
because
US, the
Andy just
US
left
market,
last week.
the US market it finally is gonna get something that
Something
is
really, really
actually
awesome. And
correct.
they're going to be getting the barn tool. They're going to be getting hopefully red ice wine. They're going to be getting just next level Irish whiskies that not just but I don't think the category's seen it in decades. So that's what excites me a lot.
That answers my next question when I said I was about to ask, what is next for two stacks? What
The
is
biggest thing for
what
me,
two
Jack,
stacks
is
consumers should look forward to from now on till the end of the year or in 2026? what should we look forward to, us that actually now fell in love with two
The, big,
stacks
the
and what,
biggest thing
what
you're
this
going to want to
is.
watch out for is the Commission Mashable series, the one that we quietly laid down 4 years ago. The one that nobody knows about, the peated pot still that hasn't been tasted since the 18th century. That is what you're going to want to look out for.
You heard it here first. If you don't follow, I'm gonna remind you guys that if you don't follow or are connected to Two Stacks, if you're on Instagram, make sure you follow them. It's at Two Stacks Whiskey, whiskey the right way, not the British way. And I would say dare to go on their website is twostackwhiskey.com. Make sure you follow them and make sure you know what is it that they're doing, because if Shane is part of the team, I know there's some crazy stuff that are coming up. I know there's things that are gonna come up that he can't even talk about. Knowing how these things are happening, I can only imagine. Two stacks remind me of a Rubik's cube. There's so many combination you can do to actually come to greatness. So I feel like that's what we are looking for. And guess what? Not a lot of brand think about price consciousness. And I love, deep. I can tell that your team are regular folks. They're like, I just want something I can buy, I can enjoy. So let's make whiskey for the people, right? Not just for us, but for the people. So I can tell you right now that I really appreciate that, because that's not something a lot of brand think about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's like just see somebody say I gotta ship him a bottle when it comes out. I definitely agree. I feel like there's a lot of innovation happening in Irish whiskey. I think is a slow innovation happening, but I'm very excited for next year, 30 Days of Irish Whiskey. I feel like there's gonna be, then prepare yourself to come back in March, because I feel like it's gonna be one of those things that
I
are
agree.
are
Like,
going to are going to kind of take a new boom on the market, right?
I
We
agree. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
love scotch, we love bourbon, we love whiskeys, but somewhere I don't think anybody make approachable, delicate. The word here is delicate and flavorful whiskey like Irish people make it. And that is the reason why I fell in love with Irish whiskey. And mind you, Irish people, I was just at a tasting at a private event on last week, and somebody asked me, "You talk very fondly of Ireland. Is it that cool?" And I told him, I say, and it was a bunch of people that were more on the minority side. And I say, if you're a black person and you never visited Ireland, you should, because Irish people are the black people of Europe. You will never feel like you're not home when you're Ireland. And I'm talking about somebody who was in who visited very remote area. I was in I went to Cork. I drove from Dublin to Cork. I stopped at a bunch of small places, Killarney. I've been to all wide places of Ireland, and not once, not even once, I felt out of pocket or I felt out of place. It was warm, welcoming, just like Irish whiskey. It embraces you and take you in. So, Shane, I want to thank you a lot for just taking the time today. It's almost 10 o'clock there,
It
to
is.
actually sit down and talk to me and coming on the Truth is Burial Proof and telling us what's happening
It's been a
with.
pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure. Honestly, I could sit and talk for hours. And when I see you at the whiskey show, if you're coming back this year, we're going
You know,
afterwards, and
we are, we are.
we're gonna grab a Guinness and a whiskey. And we're
We grabbing a Guinness and a whiskey, and I need you to bring something special on the
I
podcast.
will under the table. I'll have it there for you.
Yeah, I will. I will. I will be at the Whiskey Live show in London in October, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And remember, if you are not following Two Stacks, I want to remind you, go on your Instagram page, on your Facebook page, please write Two Stack Whiskey and find them. They are good with their social media. Whomever take your pictures is doing an amazing job posting constantly. Go on the website. There's an option to also buy whiskey. You know what? You can grab one can, or you can wait till a couple months from now. You can grab the whole legacy, and
Yeah.
It's literally they're buying you a drink. It's
Let's
10
be,
bucks.
let's
10,
be
like
honest.
$5 a can. They're buying you a drink. So grab it, try it, and if you hate it, guess what? Shane he has really tough skin. He'll take the criticism, but at least buy it first, then hate it after. So that's all we want, right? And if you buy it, tag them, show them that you showing love. And it's a little can you can share with a friend. You can take it through TSA. This is for my American people. You always wonder, can I take alcohol with me? You don't need a miniature bottle. You can take it through TSA and you can put it in your little bag, and we're good. Shane, if there's any last word for your consumers all around the world that are watching or be watching the recast of this show, what would you want to tell the people that are either have tried your whiskey and looking for more, or the people that have been, I don't know, and are a little reluctant to try your whiskey? If you have any last word for them, new current customer and future customer, what would that be?
I would say it's very simple, Jack. I would say sláinte, and I would say follow the journey because we're only getting started.
You know what? You heard the man. If you're not here, in America we say be here or be square. If you haven't jumped on a train of two stack Irish whiskey yet, I feel sorry for you. Thank Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, you whiskey lovers. And if you have any question, make sure you also obviously follow the channel. I'm on YouTube as Hood Sommelier. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook, and I'm obviously on Instagram as Hood Sommelier. If you have any questions for Shane's that you didn't ask, send it to me. I'll make sure to send him an email so he can actually answer those questions for you. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next time.